Kellyanne Conway, interviewed on CNN's New Day earlier today. Our Justice correspondent, Jessica Schneider, is joining us now. Jessica, do we know, did the president directly influence the Justice Department's decision?
Yes, he did, Wolf. We do know that from two sources, that President Trump directed his senior staff to get that gag order on that FBI informant lifted. Now, this informant has spoken out through his attorney in the past week, saying he wants to share the details of what he's calling corruption surrounding the approval of a uranium company sale to Russia in 2010. Then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was on the committee of 9 agency heads who approved it. Now, after President Trump gave this direction to lift the gag order on this informant, we know that White House counsel Don McGahn relayed the message to the Justice Department, and Wednesday night, the gag order was lifted. But here's why Democrats are crying foul. The Justice Department has strict rules limiting any White House involvement in criminal law enforcement matters, especially when it involves the president's political opponents. And as you'll remember, it was just earlier this week that the president talked about the uranium deal, calling it the Watergate of the modern age. And today, he even tweeted about it. He tweeted this. He said, "It is now commonly agreed after many months of costly looking that there was no collusion between Russia and Trump, was collusion with HC," meaning Hillary Clinton. But of course, Wolf, as we know, there has not been a conclusion in all of those Russia investigations that are very much still ongoing on several fronts. Wolf.
So, Jessica, what is the crux of the new call for this investigation?
So the Republican-led investigation in many different committees, it will be twofold. So first, they want to know, was Hillary Clinton or anyone on the committee of 9 agencies that approved this uranium deal in 2010 aware that there was a simultaneous FBI investigation and subsequent guilty plea into the same Russian company that won approval? So that's the investigation the informant played a role in. And the second question is, Republicans are raising concerns about reports that the Russians channeled millions of dollars into the Clinton Foundation at the same time this deal to benefit Russia was getting the okay, of course, raising questions of a pay-to-play scheme, perhaps. So now several committees on Capitol Hill are now looking into both questions. And now, of course, Wolf, they will be allowed to talk to that informant now that the gag order has been lifted. Wolf.
Jessica Schneider reporting for us. Thank you very much. Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, says he may open an investigation into the possible meddling by the President of the United States. Schiff has this senior role on the House Intelligence Committee. Here with us now to discuss this and more, our chief political analyst, Gloria Borger, who broke the news of the president's push to get that order lifted, and Michael Zeldin, he's a CNN legal analyst, a former special assistant to Robert Mueller over at the Justice Department. So, Gloria, Kellyanne Conway says the president weighed in because he wants transparency. Right. What's your response?
Well, and that's what Evan Perez and I were told last night, that the White House wants to be transparent on this. And of course, this has nothing to do with politics. Now the T in Trump stands for transparency, I guess. But the president did direct his senior staff to facilitate the Justice Department's full cooperation with this to get this lifted. Now, I should say that the Justice Department has made it clear that their decision was independent. They wouldn't comment any further. But if you put 1 and 1 together, you end up with 2.
The Justice Department, Michael, put out a statement. Let me read it. Quote, "The Department of Justice is an agency in the executive branch, and the president, like presidents before and after, is free to communicate with executive branch appointees." So what's your reaction? Is the president okay expressing his views directly to the Justice Department on a sensitive issue like this?
It contravenes about 40 years of practice between the White House and the Justice Department with respect to ongoing matters, and this is now a congressional ongoing matter. It would have been better left as a communication from Grassley to the Justice Department and let the Justice Department respond in due kind. When the Trump administration says that they are seeking transparency, you have to view it in the context of the other aspects of what they've done with respect to the Justice Department communications, which is the Comey loyalty and the Comey firing, the interview of U.S. attorneys in the Southern District and Eastern Districts of New York, and now this. It does seem as if when it suits them, they're willing to reach out to the Justice Department. When it doesn't suit them, then they backed
But
away.
you're not suggesting there was anything criminal here.
No.
The president can communicate with executive branch appointees.
Sure, it's just a policy and practice to make sure there's no appearance of political interference in the criminal justice process. It's really an appearance matter as much as anything else, but Justice Department and White House have long honored that tradition to make sure that people feel confident.
Well, in a way, it's probably more of a problem from the Justice Department's point of view.
Sure, yeah.
Because the Justice Department needs to show that it is independent. And, you know, the presidents always say, I want this done faster, I want that done faster. But when you direct your White House counsel then to speak with people at the Justice Department and then you see that it does happen pretty quickly, I think the Justice Department may have some questions that they need to answer about their independence.
That's right. And indeed, remember from Comey, when he leaves that Oval Office where he is allegedly told by the president to back off the Flynn investigation, he goes right to Sessions and he says, please stop this. Please have the president stop reaching out to law enforcement. That's not appropriate in this case. And Sessions either said yes or no or waved his hands. We don't know really what the answer to that is. But that's exactly the pattern that I'm speaking to. That's the stuff they really need to avoid because they can't get away with just saying, well, this is transparency, because it's not, probably.
The president did tweet this morning, and I'll put it up on the screen if we have it. It is now commonly agreed after many months of costly, all in caps, costly looking, that there was no collusion between Russia and Trump. Was collusion. There was collusion, he's suggesting, was collusion with H.C. Hillary Clinton. So he's already reached his final conclusion, except the special counsel, Robert Mueller, clearly has not.
So Mueller is done. I mean, the collusion with Hillary Clinton, he's clearly talking about this Uranium One case that he wants the whistleblower to talk about. Hillary Clinton has said over and over again she had nothing to do with it. You know, so everybody's going to go back and forth on that depending on what side of the political spectrum you're on. But nobody has said that there was not collusion. We haven't heard that from Mueller. We haven't heard that even from the Republican chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, who said their investigation into collusion is not yet completed. So I don't know where he's getting that conclusion about collusion.
Well, he's hoping it's so, I think, because the facts haven't brought us there, as you say. And in fact, the issues that arose yesterday with the reach out to WikiLeaks by the analytics firm fits again this pattern of Flynn Jr., Don Jr., Kushner, all of them making reach outs to the Russians. That can't be the end of the inquiry.
Yeah, the president clearly feels it's over, but the investigators, including the special counsel, the House and Senate committees investigating, they are not done by any means. All right, guys, thanks very much. Let's talk a little bit more about this, other political headlines. Joining us now, Wisconsin Republican Congressman Sean Duffy. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.
It's good to be with you, Wolf. Thanks for having me on.
So are you at all concerned about the president's staff telling the Justice Department about their interest in this case and lifting that gag order on that FBI informant?
Not at all. I got to tell you what, I'm shocked with some media reporting and from Democrats. We've had a year or 10 months of conversation about Russia colluding with American campaigns, and here we have direct evidence, if we can lift this gag order, of someone who can talk to us about the collusion between a Russian company and potentially the Clinton Foundation and their drive to get 20% of American uranium, which we use to make nuclear weapons. So I think if we care about the Russians and their involvement in the American society, we should all stand together and work to get this information out. And those who I don't think want to see this gag order lifted, they're there to protect Hillary Clinton from this scandalous information.
The gag order clearly has now been lifted, and we'll see where that goes. But you want the special counsel, Robert Mueller, you want the House Intelligence Committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee, the Judiciary Committees to continue their investigation into Russian meddling in the U.S. presidential election last year, which the U.S. intelligence community has concluded was clearly a threat to the U.S. democracy.
So I've said you don't roll this investigation back, but I have concerns because whether it was James Comey or James Clapper or Senator Feinstein, all Democrats who have said, listen, we've seen no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, though we have a special counsel anyway investigating it. The only evidence that we've seen thus far on collusion is with the Clintons or the DNC, one with the dossier that I know you've talked about, but also then with Uranium One. So it's a little bit frustrating that you have
what
this
about that meeting
independent
over the summer?
investigation. Go ahead.
What about that meeting between senior Trump campaign officials and Russians at Trump Tower in New York City after they received an email from those Russians saying, you want to discuss Hillary Clinton dirt?
Yeah, so no information was transitioned there in that meeting, very short in time. But if you look at the dossier, if you look at the DNC and Hillary Clinton, as through Fusion GPS, actually paid Russian informants, high criminal officials, to provide dirt on our sitting president. So if you look at the weight and scope of a scandal, the Democrats and Hillary paid for information from the Kremlin on Donald Trump as sitting president, as opposed to a 10-minute meeting in Trump Tower where nothing really transpired. If you look at the weight and gravity,
of course, Congressman,
this
the original
focuses on Democrats.
The original contact with Fusion GPS was with a Republican who asked for dirt.
That's not been confirmed. No, that's not been confirmed. So
yes,
there's been no confirmation from Fusion GPS.
It was a
asked who it was or show us records. No, that's not been confirmed.
Well, you didn't listen to the
allegation.
president. President Trump himself the other day said, yes, he thinks he knows who that Republican. The president says he thinks he knows who that Republican is. He's not releasing the name. He repeatedly says he thinks he knows. He's confirmed that the original contact with Fusion GPS was with a Republican. Later, after the president got the nomination, yes, you're right, the Democrats took over, and we only learned the other day that it was the Clinton campaign and the DNC that was actually directly involved. Although back in January, hold on a minute, we did report that Democratic supporters of Hillary Clinton were involved in getting that information. But are you saying the president of the United States is wrong when he says a Republican initially made that contact?
Yeah, he may be.
Why do you say the president is wrong?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Tell us why you think the president is wrong.
Because the only person that has information about who that Republican client would be Fusion GPS. Now, they're the ones that said we had a Republican client. When we asked for confirmation, the media asked for confirmation, none has been given. So I think you have this untrustworthy Fusion GPS that's willing to take salacious and scandalous material about our president, paying Russian informants, and put that out in a dossier. I don't think they have credibility. I've seen no independent verification of that outside of what Fusion GPS said. Now, the president might have heard news reports and speculated on who that could be. But I'm going to wait and reserve judgment on whether there was a Republican there or not. What I do know is you had the DNC and you had Hillary Clinton, who funded $9 million into this organization. And by the way, it was used, no media organizations, even CNN wouldn't report on this dossier until the FBI went and briefed the president on the dossier, and it was leaked to CNN, all of a sudden giving credibility to a report that no one believed in. So my question also becomes, what's going on inside the FBI where they're briefing the president on this, but also then leaking it to CNN?
Well,
at the top level, we have great concern about what's happening.
They wanted the president to know, they wanted the outgoing president, the incoming president, to know about this document because they thought, even though that a lot of the information in there had not been confirmed, apparently some of the information in that document, Congressman, had been confirmed.
What, that there was Russian informants, maybe, yes, but the salacious material inside,
the salacious material was by no means confirmed, but the contacts with Russians, some of that information, Congressman, was confirmed, and they decided, you know what? The President of the United States, the outgoing president, the incoming president, they should at least know about the existence of this document. I don't see anything wrong with that.
But Wolf, and I'm sorry that I was talking over you there. My concern is this, and this is not the good people that work at the FBI. This is leadership in the FBI. That we have a Fusion GPS organization paying criminal officials for information. That's not the way intelligence works. This had red flags all over the map, and that our FBI would go in and brief the president when even the media was discrediting the report when it was put up, I think by Mother Jones or by BuzzFeed, is highly skeptical of what the motive was there. And the fact that I think CNN, and great work on your part, but you had a tip-off 30 minutes after the meeting and reporting it, means to me that this was not about briefing the president. This was about giving credibility to a bogus report against our president, which gives me great concern. If we're going to stand together,
hold on a minute,
and you've done a good job.
Go ahead. Great concern about the leadership of the FBI. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. And those who are making decisions on this bogus report leaking it out to CNN, and also briefing the president. And again, when you look at the tactics and techniques that were used, I think guys in the field in the FBI would shake their head and go, this is unacceptable stuff that we're taking as credible material. We never do this in the FBI. And that's my concern. And I think if you and I, we stand together and saying, I want to know what Russia did. I want to know what involvement they had in our election. And I'll stand with CNN and MSNBC and Fox and every other organization to go, I want to know that. But I think we got to be fair, too, and say, was it Donald Trump? Was it Hillary Clinton? Let's apply equal pressure to both of them so we know what Russia's involvement was. And sometimes I get frustrated because it seems like Democrats only want to focus on an investigation if it involves Donald Trump. But when it blows back in their face and it might involve Hillary Clinton or the DNC, they want to stonewall it, and they want nothing to do with an investigation into Russia because it might look bad for their party. Let's do what they first said. Let's find out Russia's involvement.
FBI and CIA officials, they all say that Christopher Steele, the former British MI6 spy who was directly involved in coming up with this opposition research, is what they call it, was highly respected, well known to the U.S. intelligence community, and that was one of the reasons why the FBI itself, they didn't do it in the end, the FBI itself was thinking about paying for more of this information. Now, you've seen those reports, right?
But Wolf, no, so if Michael said, I don't know him, but I know that he was paying high-level Kremlin officials.
How do you know he was actually paying high-level Kremlin officials for this information?
Because we were told that. I think that was in the Washington Post story. Fusion GPS reported that this information was paid for. And so if you look at the flow of information of Fusion GPS, again, red flags are being raised. And when you're influencing elections, we have Kremlin officials who are passing information through Fusion GPS into the American media to discredit a president. This is the real scandal. This is the real collusion that concerns me.
So bottom line, Congressman, you want all these investigations to continue to come up with final answers on the sensitive issues you're raising, the sensitive issues the Democrats are raising. The president may say, as he tweeted this morning, and I'll read it to you once again, it is now commonly agreed after many months of costly looking that there was no collusion between Russia and Trump, was collusion with Hillary Clinton. You want all these investigations to come up with answers so that the American public learns exactly what happened and tries to prevent the Russians from engaging in this kind of activity down the road, right?
I think America deserves to know. And to make my first point again, the Democrats have even said there is no evidence of any collusion that they've seen so far between Trump and Russia. We are seeing other evidence right now with, again, the dossier and Uranium One of collusion between the Clintons and Russia. But with that said, we should apply equal pressure and equal force in this investigation to not look at Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or Republicans and Democrats. Let's look at Russia and find out what they were trying to do in our elections and how they're trying to disseminate information in our country, because I think as Americans we're all better off, and you in the media and me as a congressman are better off knowing what they're trying to do to undermine our democracy, Wolf. And we have to stand together on that front.
Yeah, no, I think we all agree on that. We want answers to make sure we fully understand what the Russians were up to, and to make sure it doesn't happen down the road, whether in 2018 midterm elections, 2020 the next presidential election here in the United States, or indeed elsewhere in other democracies around the world. Congressman Sean Duffy of Wisconsin, thanks once again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Wolf.
So we have some truly extraordinary CNN reporting coming up. An eyewitness comes forward speaking about what he saw during the Niger ambush, including why the Americans were separated. Plus, was JFK's assassin working for the CIA? A file released raising some eyebrows after it cuts off a sentence after that question is directly asked to a former CIA director. We'll discuss. And moments ago, Tiger Woods, once the world's greatest golfer, heading into court to make his plea in a DUI case. Stand by.